Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a fascinating and fast-moving story that has caught the attention of Europe and beyond. Sweden has taken a step that many are calling historic, unexpected, and even a break from the long-standing Nordic and European pattern. In this video, we'll unpack what Sweden did, why it matters, how it affects the region, and what it could mean for the future. The goal here is to give you a clear, simple, and engaging explanation without unnecessary complications. Let's get straight into it. Sweden has always been known for its calm, stable, and predictable policies. Whether we talk about economy, security, or international relations, Sweden's identity has traditionally been based on neutrality, balance, and gradual change. But this time, Sweden has made a move that completely breaks that familiar pattern. Many analysts around the world are saying that Sweden has entered a new era where it is no longer content with quiet diplomacy or slow reforms. Instead, it is taking sharper positions and sending firmer signals, especially on issues where it used to stay cautious. This sudden shift didn't come out of nowhere. Over the last few years, a lot has changed around Sweden. Rising tensions in Europe, global uncertainty, shifting alliances, and internal political pressure have pushed the country to rethink its approach. For decades, Sweden avoided bold steps, but now the situation around them has become too dynamic to maintain the old strategy. Some people believe that Sweden simply adapted to survive in a more unpredictable world, while others argue Sweden saw an opportunity to lead rather than follow. Either way, this break from the pattern is not accidental. It is the result of pressure, calculation, and ambition. When a country like Sweden changes direction, it isn't just a small adjustment. It sends shockwaves through the region because Sweden has always been considered a model of stability. Countries in the Nordic region often mirror or influence each other's policies. For years, Sweden acted as the moderating voice, slowing down extreme ideas and encouraging compromise. But now, Sweden seems ready to act more independently, even if the rest of Europe hesitates. This alone has made journalists and analysts ask whether the rest of the region will follow Sweden's lead or try to pull Sweden back toward the old pattern. One of the biggest questions people are asking is, why now? What exactly made Sweden feel the need to break away from the familiar? There are several reasons. First, Sweden has seen rapid changes in global security dynamics. The world is no longer as predictable as it once was. Threats are more complex, alliances are shifting, and nations are forced to take clearer sides. Second, Sweden's internal political landscape has changed. New voices, new debates, and more public pressure have created an environment where the old slow and steady approach no longer satisfies people. Third, Sweden is facing economic and social challenges that require faster decisions. Issues that used to be handled gradually now require immediate attention. But the most interesting part is that Sweden didn't just change its internal approach. It also changed how it communicates with the world. Instead of staying quiet, Sweden has become more vocal. Instead of waiting for others, Sweden is taking initiative. Instead of being reactive, Sweden is turning proactive. This is the kind of shift that can redefine a country's identity on the global stage. Some people believe Sweden is preparing itself for a future where silence is no longer an option. Others think Sweden is simply tired of being overshadowed by larger European powers and wants to assert its own position more clearly. There's another angle to this story that makes it even more compelling. Sweden's break from the pattern has not been met with universal applause. In fact, some European countries are uncomfortable with Sweden's new direction. They fear that Sweden's bold step could disrupt regional harmony or challenge long-established norms, but supporters argue that Sweden is doing what others are afraid to do, adapting to the new reality instead of clinging to outdated traditions. And the truth is, whenever a country decides to change course, it will always face resistance. What matters is whether the change is necessary and whether the country can defend its new position confidently. As we look deeper into this shift, we see that Sweden's new approach is not reckless. It's calculated. Sweden has always been strategic, even when acting quietly. Now Sweden is being strategic with a louder voice. This is important to understand because many people confuse boldness with impulsiveness. But Sweden's move seems more like a controlled decision rather than an emotional reaction. Sweden knows what's at stake, and it knows the implications its decisions can have on Europe. So while it may look like a sudden break from the pattern, there is planning behind the scenes. The reaction outside Europe has also been interesting. Countries around the world are watching Sweden's move closely. Some are treating this as a signal that Europe is entering a new phase where smaller countries are no longer willing to wait for larger powers to act first. Others see Sweden's decision as a sign that the global balance of influence is shifting. Sweden may not be a giant military power, but it has strong diplomatic weight, a powerful economy, and a high reputation for responsible governance. When a country like that changes its tone, the world takes notice. Inside Sweden, this new direction has started a lot of discussions. Some people support the change, saying the old pattern was outdated and ineffective. They believe Sweden needed a stronger voice on the international stage. They argue that neutrality and softness may have worked decades ago, but the current world demands clarity and courage. Others, however, worry that breaking the pattern could bring unnecessary risks. They fear Sweden may get dragged into conflicts or political tensions it previously avoided. This debate shows that Sweden's transformation is not just an external shift. It is also an internal struggle between tradition and modern necessity. One of the most surprising things about this story is how quickly public opinion can shift. A few years ago, the idea of Sweden stepping out of its pattern seemed almost impossible. But now it is happening in real time, and people are adapting. This shows how flexible and dynamic societies can be. When circumstances change, even countries with strong traditions can adjust. Sweden's move proves that no nation is permanently locked into one identity. Change is always possible when the pressure builds enough. Another aspect worth mentioning is the long-term impact of this shift. Sweden's decision may inspire other countries to reevaluate their own policies. Sometimes all it takes is one country stepping forward to encourage others to rethink their positions. If Sweden's new approach proves effective, other nations in the region might follow. But if it creates complications, they may use Sweden as a cautionary example. Either way, Sweden's move will influence future policy discussions across Europe. It's also important to understand that breaking a pattern doesn't mean abandoning all past values. Sweden is not throwing away its history or traditions. Instead, it is evolving them. Sweden still values stability, peace, and cooperation, but it now recognizes that maintaining these values requires stronger actions. The old method of quiet diplomacy may not work as effectively in the current global environment. So Sweden is adjusting its strategy while keeping its core principles intact. Throughout this entire development, one theme becomes clear. Sweden is stepping into a more assertive role. It is signaling that it will no longer be defined only by its past. This is a powerful message because it shows confidence and readiness to adapt. Many countries struggle to make such transitions, but Sweden seems determined to embrace the new reality. Whether you agree with Sweden's move or not, there is no denying that it took courage to break a pattern that lasted for decades. The coming months will show how this new direction plays out. Sweden will have to navigate criticism, manage expectations, and maintain balance while taking bolder steps. But if Sweden succeeds, it could become an example of how countries can modernize their identity without losing their values. The world is changing fast, and those who adapt early often end up shaping the future instead of being shaped by it. Overall, Sweden breaking the pattern is more than just a political move. It is a transformation of mindset, a shift in strategy, and a signal of ambition. It reflects a country that is no longer satisfied with standing on the sidelines. It wants to participate actively, influence decisions, and set new standards. And no matter how the story unfolds, one thing is certain: Europe will not be the same after Sweden's decision. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this explanation and want more clear, powerful breakdowns of global events, make sure to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.